Welcome on in to a live edition of Falcons Today. It is draft week, and I wanted to go live on Monday just to get a good pulse of everyone going into Thursday as we all prepare for the Falcons to make the number 15 pick in the NFL draft. So we're going to recap some of the trade rumors out there right now going into this fun week, and I want to look at my final mock draft, all 7 rounds. So we're going to check that out as well. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. We'll let the audience kind of build up for the first few minutes, and then we will jump into the nuts and bolts of today's show. I'll give some quick shout-outs, though, so don't be a stranger. Hop in the chat for the first 30 to 60 seconds. Shout out your city if you would like, and that way I can get you, on the show for a moment here. As the Bright Wolf, long time no see. Good to see you. I do like Grand Limousine. Awesome to have you in the chat. I do love draft week because that's when everyone comes out to play, right? I know some people in the slower portion of the offseason pull back a little bit on their Falcons consumption, but when it's draft week, all the big leaguers are here. We've got Dave Joseph here, Boyd, everyone's here. Cody, Archangel, Trey, so good to see everyone here. MP9 tuning in from Seattle. The Bright Wolf wants to talk about Jalen Ramsey. That's going to be the first segment of today's live show. We have 100 people just about tuned in right now. If you haven't yet, do me a big favor. Click that thumbs up button down below. We've got California in the house. Nick, what's going on, dude? Thank you for tuning in. Shout out your city for me. It's always fun to see how far and wide an NFL fan base stretches. Atlanta Dog, Dallas, unfortunately. How about Nico Harrison's press conference today at Atlanta Dog? Did you see that one? Boyd, rise up. There we go. There we go. If you have a question or a take you want to share with everyone, super chat and we'll throw it on screen for everyone watching to see. We're not going to have a traditional mailbag like we usually do on our live shows just because with the draft being on Thursday, any questions you guys might have could be dated by then. So no mailbag today, but if you do have something you are dying to ask, super chat and we'll throw it on screen for everyone watching to see. Nathan is in St. Louis. We've got Washington here. Melvin's in Atlanta. Redbot is in New Orleans. Redbot, last weekend, I was in New Orleans for my bachelor party. Had a fantastic time. Jay with a $5 super chat. Jay, I don't think I've seen you since week 18, right? So awesome to have you back, Jay. Landon, Petey, how do you feel about the Nico, Tennessee situation? Landon, I'll kind of give you my thoughts on it after this Jay super chat. Here before Terry Bull and Raheem let us down again. One step closer to both being fired. Better days are ahead still. Hashtag fire Terry. Hashtag fire Raheem. Jay and everyone watching, let me ask you this question. Knowing what you know now, would you rather have Bill Belichick as the coach or Raheem Morris? There were a lot of people who got very mad at me because I was not the most optimistic, on-board person with the Raheem Morris hire. Fast forward 13 months later, 14 months later, do you still want Raheem Morris or would you rather have had Bill Belichick this whole time? If Bill Belichick was in charge, I don't think Terry Fontenot would be as big of a role player in this team's roster construction as he currently is. Bright Wolf says Raheem. A lot of Raheems. A couple Bills. Mike says Bill. Jay says Bill. Crockett says Belichick. Thomas says Raheem. It's only been 1 year, so I can understand wanting to let more data points come in before you make an assessment. More games, right? All that stuff. But circling back to my thoughts on the Nico situation. One, he completely misplayed his hand. He clearly thought he could get more money out of Tennessee. And kudos to Tennessee for going, no, this is not going to be a one-sided relationship where you are constantly just asking for more money. Now, Tennessee probably could have seen this coming when they gave him all that money as a 17-year-old. I wouldn't say that spoke volumes about his character, but, when you give up that much money to a 17-year-old, it shouldn't be a big surprise when they're 19 and they want more money. So I wouldn't say this came out of left field for the football front office and just entire operation. But at the end of the day, I'm not losing sleep over Nico not being on Tennessee's roster. Excited for Luke Altmaier, maybe, from Illinois to transfer. Heard it here first. So that's my stance on it right now. All right. We're going to talk draft rumors, trade rumors, mock draft, all that good stuff on our live show today. 130 people tuned in right now, 26 likes. Can we get to 35 likes? 9 more people like the video, and then we'll jump into our first segment, which is all about the Schefter report that came out on Monday and what he's hearing going into the draft and some of the trade rumors that the Falcons could have some level of interest in. So, 27 likes, hit that thumbs up button. SS, before I read your comment, I would suggest a name change. Hey, Petey, first time on the show. This channel has been my go-to Falcons news channel for the past year. Thank you for everything you do and also rise up. S.S., thank you so much. Anyone that's watched World War II in color knows what joke I'm making right now. But thank you so much for your, kind words and your support of the channel. Really appreciate it. This job is very rewarding in a lot of ways because of people like yourself. Do we like Petey Fontenot more? What are the options right now? There's Terry Petey. That kind of rolls off the tongue. I like Petey Fontenot the best. Yeah. And Terry, yeah. Petey Fontenot. That's the winner. That just sounds so natural. Oh, it happened so naturally. I don't know how GMs do it. That was stressful as fuck. It was 60 seconds, and pressure was on. Oh, no, so the thing, like, you got nervous, but to be fair, you only had a minute. Well, to be fair, Mike Green was not there, and that is going to change the draft strategy. So, with Mike Green gone and my top 4 guys gone, really top 5, Jalen Walker, Mike Green, Will Johnson. John Campbell, I wouldn't put top 5, but he's a good player too. I probably would have taken him before Eamon Worry. So then the question just became Eamon Worry. It really came down to 2. Eamon Worry or Mykel Williams. And I made a bet with myself that I could get a good edge in round 2. And I didn't get a bad edge, but I didn't get the guy I was hoping to probably get. So that's what happened last week. And now I'm called Petey Fontenot. I would love to just kind of bump into Terry in a very, non-football setting and have him go, not that easy, is it? Not that easy, is it? Little YouTuber. Yeah, I that is true. I would titty fuck a good timeout call in a 2-minute warning. You know what I do? Would you go the simple boom or the repetitive one? Yeah, rapid fire. Yeah, automatic. Are you running down the sideline? You know what I kind of like? When they're right behind the ref and they just kind of slip in a little, you know what I mean? And they back off and the whistle blows. No one saw it coming. All right, here we go. Let's talk about some trade rumors. 110 people tuned in, 37 likes. Thank you to everyone who has liked the video. Here we go. We're talking trade rumors on today's show, starting right now. Adam Schefter came out with a very juicy article to lead draft week with all the things he's hearing going into the 2025 NFL draft. And in it included a bunch of names to watch for that could be traded. So I want to break down 2 names specifically, starting with the veterans. Kirk Cousins leading the list, and then we'll talk about Jalen Ramsey. Now, we've talked about Kirk a ton on the channel in just over the last 72 hours, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse because I just don't want to be too repetitive, but if you want more Kirk Cousins stuff, we put this out on Monday morning's video, but my overall thoughts on this situation is I don't expect a trade to happen before or during the draft. I think a team is going to let the draft play out, and then after the draft is over, after some practices and OTAs and minicamp, they then get more engaged with the Falcons for Kirk Cousins if they feel they need a quarterback. Now, let's talk about Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey is a name that has been surfacing a ton with Falcons fans. I've seen a lot of rumors between the Raheem Morris and Jalen Ramsey connection, potentially bringing on a reunion in Atlanta. So let's give some background here, starting with Jonathan Jones from CBS Sports recently shared this in an article. Teams like the Falcons and Raiders should have some level of interest if the price is right, talking about the Dolphins cornerback. Now, what's weird is he signed a 3-year extension less than a year ago. 3 years, $72 million back in September. He does get 31 in October, turns 31 in October, so up there in the age column, but he had a tremendous run with Raheem Morris in LA. Back-to-back Pro Bowl, All-Pro seasons, en route to a Super Bowl season as well. So Ramsey, I'm sure, would love to reunite with his old defensive coordinator. He is healthy, started all 17 games this past season. Remember, he was injured at the beginning of 2023, but ever since he made his debut as a Dolphin, he has not missed a game. And he's also been still very productive. I know with the age column factoring in, you're probably thinking he's washed at this point. I don't know. He's got 5 interceptions over the last 2 seasons. 2021 was 4 years ago for sure, but look what he did with Raheem Morris. 8 interceptions from 2021 to 2022. I can't even do the math on all those past breakups. What is that, 34, 35, 32, something like that? I mean, in coverage last year, he wasn't a liability. I mean, not the best work of his career, but man, if that's his B game, 546 yards and 2 touchdowns allowed, where do I sign? Now, I bring up Jalen Ramsey not from the vantage point of having him start at corner necessarily, which could be an option, but you've brought back Mike Hughes. You brought back D. Alford. To me, those 2 actions right there indicate you are comfortable with all 3, 4 of those cornerbacks being in your rotation. But I wonder if you bring Ramsey to Atlanta to start at safety. Maybe just use a couple of packages with him, a little bit of a hybrid role. Jordan Fuller signed a cheap 1-year contract. I don't think he is, put in Sharpie as a starter next to Jesse Bates. And while this offseason has not been glamorous for Atlanta, and you can make the argument they've actually taken a step back rather than forward defensively with some of the departures and additions, what if this time next week we are talking about an Atlanta defense that's got Leonard Floyd and Mike Green starting at edge and Jalen Ramsey floating between corner and safety, and now you've got a trio with Jesse Bates, Jalen Ramsey, and A.J. Terrell, and a good veteran edge rusher in Floyd, and your 15th overall pick in Mike Green. Is that a defense that you can buy in on? I'm going to feel more confident about that defense than the current defense. Now, as for the cost to acquire Ramsey, I don't think it's going to be that much. He signed a 3-year extension, so financially there'll be some level of hurdles to jump through, but the cap is a myth. Go talk to the Saints about that. That's not going to be a non-starter for a Ramsey trade. How about a future 5th-round draft pick? Atlanta cannot give up one of their picks in this year's draft for a player. Unless they're getting a pick back, right? Like, hey, we'll give you our second. You give us your second, which is 10 spots later, which that's not the case with Miami, and we get Jalen Ramsey. So the only way the Falcons get a Jalen Ramsey trade done is if they start the trade with 5 picks and they end the trade with 5 picks and Jalen Ramsey, but they just move back in some round or 2. So let me toss it over to you. Are you doing this trade? Give me a yes or give me a no down below in the comment section. I'm doing it. Why not? He was so great with Morris out west. Why not bring that over to Atlanta? Why not bring just some level of spark to this defense that desperately needs it? A.J. Terrell was the only reliable corner in coverage for the second half of 2024. Jesse Bates is going to continue to be a cornerstone piece no matter what team he's on. Thankfully, it's Atlanta right now. But outside of that, there's not a lot of firepower on this defense. Give me Jalen Ramsey for a future 5th-round draft pick. Yeah, I'm all the way in on that. Now, before we look at some other trade rumors and just draft buzz in general, I do want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Cash in on the basketball playoffs with Prize Picks. Don't miss your chance to add to your favorite players from the court to your Prize Picks lineup, whether it's points, rebounds, assists. Take your pick of more or less for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash daily. Prize Picks is the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join millions of users and sign up today. Prize Picks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this season. So, get started with Prize Picks today. Download the app and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks. Run your game. Now, Schefter also mentioned a handful of other players who are on the rookie contracts that could be moved during the draft, and I just want to highlight a couple that I could see making sense for the Falcons. No one offensively would make a ton of sense on paper. If I had to toss out one name, what about Sam Howell? Let's say Atlanta moves on from Kirk Cousins during the draft, right? Well, now they have a quarterback room with Emory Jones. Remember him from Florida? Yeah, he signed with the Falcons like January. And Michael Penix. So if Atlanta wants to get a little bit more of a competent backup, Sam Howell is on the trade block. Adam Schefter reported over this past weekend the Seahawks are open to trading Howell. In English, someone give us a washing machine for him. Go full Jackie Moon. They signed Drew Lock. They want him to be the new backup for Sam Darnold. So you could get Howell for like a future 7th or 6th round draft pick, which I'd like that a whole lot more backing up Penix than Emory Jones. Now, it's important to note as we look at all these trade candidates, you don't like. It's a thin wallet. You don't have a lot to work with right now. First, second, they're just too valuable to part ways with for a veteran player. The only way you're moving on from one of these two picks is if you're getting someone else's pick in return, right? You're giving up 46 for a player and pick 60 or something like that. Oh, the Falcons signed they just signed Easton Stick while we're filming right now. Okay, so we'll do a video about that afterwards. But in real time, we just talked about Sam Howell. Oh, sorry, Sam, I don't think you're coming to Atlanta, but Easton Stick is. So at least me and the Falcons are thinking the same wavelength of you might want to get a better backup quarterback. Could that mean a Kirk Cousins trade? Oh, I'm getting myself worked up right now. All right, let's land this plane, and then we'll talk about Easton Stick in a video that has already been published based on the time you're watching this video. So the beauty of working in real time. All right, let's get back to where we were, Reed. So some other trade candidates to keep an eye on that the Falcons could have some level of interest in, specifically on the defensive side of the football, because I think that's the more pressing needs, to say the least, for Atlanta. Evan Neal, offensive lineman, former first-round pick, sucks. Kayvon Thibodeaux, much better than Evan Neal. Same draft class, but if the Giants go with Abdul Carter at number 3, there may not be a home for Thibodeaux in the starting lineup since Brian Burns and Carter would be there. Tyree Wilson and Odafe Owe and Greg Newsome also on this watch list here. I'll highlight Tyree Wilson, who's been here long enough to remember our pre-2023 draft coverage. When we were in on Tyree Wilson right up until the draft, and then all the smoke was in on Bijan Robinson, so I feel like I flip-flopped. I don't remember. But the point is, Tyree Wilson last year with the Raiders, really his entire career with the Raiders has been underwhelming. So if the Falcons want to find an awesome athlete, 6'6", 275, that's a big dude who moves very quickly, but he just has not really put it all together in the pros. This could be a buy low, get really good results high type of trade the Falcons maybe pursue. I could see this happening if Atlanta doesn't go edge in round 1, right? They go like corner Will Johnson or something like that. So they go, all right, well, we got to find an edge rusher somewhere. Let's double up in round 2, and let's see what we can, offer for Tyree Wilson from the Raiders. My prediction, though, the Falcons, I think, are going to try and trade back from pick number 15. They may not have success with that. It's not a very talent-filled draft. The guy you're getting at 15 versus the guy you're getting at 25, I don't think are very far apart. Like if you can get Mykel Williams at 15 and James Pierce at 25, you're going to find some people that like Pierce more than Williams. So why would a team from 25 want to jump up to 15 and give up a third or a second round draft pick? So I'm sure Atlanta would like to move back. I don't think they're going to have a lot of success in finding a dance partner. But if they are not able to trade back, I think their plan is twofold. One, you got to nail that first and second round pick. You got to find a day one starter at 15, and you got to find a good, at least rotational player in round 2. They also, with only having 5 picks, are going to be a hot spot for preferred undrafted free agents. When the draft is over and you get all those UDFA signings, a lot of those UDFAs are happy to go undrafted because if they get drafted in round 7, they have no say in where they go. If you are a preferred undrafted free agent, you're going to look at teams like the Falcons, like the Vikings, who combined have 9 draft picks, and think, man, I've got a real opportunity to make the roster there because there's not a lot of rookie competition. There's only 5, and 2 of those 5 were 7th round picks. They're not that far ahead of me from a talent perspective, from a ranking level. So I think the Falcons are going to be a very hot destination for some of the best undrafted players, which I know doesn't sound super sexy, but there are plenty of just not like necessarily great UDFAs, but valuable. Troy Anderson, UDFA. Sorry, Nate Landman, UDFA. You can find good quality, borderline starting caliber players after the draft. And lucky for Atlanta, they're going to be one of the number one destinations for all those players. All right, before we get on out of here, quick plug here for ourselves because we're going to be live for the NFL draft. So make sure you tune in for our pick-by-pick analysis, the giveaways we're going to do. We'll go live at least an hour before rounds 1 and then day 2 of the draft. So scroll on down and click that subscribe button if you have not already for the best free Falcons draft coverage. Let's spin the wheel to get a shout-out for a recent commenter. Mr. Bartkus, spin that wheel. And 2 claps going to Douglas Sullivan. Douglas, thank you for commenting. By the way, half the time I just pick people that say very mean things to me. But I would love for them to have to go, wait a minute. I just belittled and berated this guy in the comment section. And now he's 2 clapping me. So, shout out to Douglas. 2 claps for you. 1, 2. We're going to sign off, and we're going to see you guys later with more on the Dirty Birds. All right, Easton Stick. That timing was freaky. We're talking about getting a new backup quarterback in, and then they get a new backup quarterback. Did the chat alert you?
Yeah. So I saw it in the chat from Jeff
Okay. Oh, he's been on, yeah.
And I didn't want to get CD production.
Oh, I feel that. Been there.
I didn't want to get CD production.
Yeah.
So I was like, I looked it up on Twitter.
So, raw reaction to the Easton Stick signing. You could look at it as a sign of, oh man, does that mean a Cousins trade is coming? I feel that no matter what the Cousins situation was, Atlanta was going to have to bring in another quarterback. You want to have 3 quarterbacks that you feel somewhat confident in going into training camp. And if Kirk Cousins does not plan to show up, which I doubt he will, to voluntary practices, you don't just want Penix and Emory Jones there running all the drills. So you bring Easton Stick in, plus with Penix's injury history, you want to have at least some level of confidence in your backup that if his number gets called, he can go out there and keep you 500 for 2 or 3 games. And if your only backup that's actually willing to show up is Emory Jones, then you're not really giving yourself a lot of opportunities to find success. You're limiting yourself to just one player. So Easton Stick joining the Falcons. Let's do a video just right here, and I'll just kind of raw dog the whole thing. Yeah, let's do that right now. You guys get to see how the sausage is made. No, do it right now. We'll do this right now. Oh, the mock draft? We'll do the mock draft after this. Yeah. Okay, yeah. No, we'll just go from this one to the join us. Well, no, don't do that. I I I love a good First Amendment. Oh, Reed said you had to. Well, some of the comment section said you have to dump on Pete for a shout out. Trick said that. No, but I do love First Amendment rights, and I don't mind leaning into the haters instead of just blocking them all. I think that's cowardly. If you work in a profession where you make yourself available to the public, which I'd say a YouTuber does that, you got to take the good with the bad, right? If I get something wrong, I'm not going to go into the comment section and block everyone that points out I was wrong about it. No, you got to wear the good with the bad. But when I get something right, I'm going to remind you about it. All right, let's do prize picks again. Sound good? Okay, so this is going to be the least graphic heavy show you'll have ever seen. It'll kind of like an at-home edition of Falcons Today. So I'm ready when you are, Reed. Here we go. The Falcons have signed quarterback Easton Stick. Welcome on into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, breaking down this signing because it may not seem like a big level signing, and it may not be. But you could interpret this as, is Atlanta preparing to move on from Kirk Cousins and they're bringing in another quarterback to be Michael Penix's backup? If you're thinking that, I don't think you're out of bounds for thinking that. Now, the first thing I thought of when I saw this signing was Atlanta's just preparing for OTAs and minicamp and to not have Cousins present at those things. Because right now, the only quarterbacks on the Falcons roster who would actually show up to something is Michael Penix and Emory Jones. Remember him? He went from Florida, I think, to Arizona State, then to Cincinnati. So right now, you don't have a very deep quarterback room. But Easton Stick joins this quarterback room as partially a backup to get you through OTAs and minicamp, and also possibly because you don't expect to have Kirk Cousins a part of your 2025 plan or picture. And if that is the case, which I don't think I don't think Kirk Cousins will be a Falcon come week one, I think we can all agree we'd like to have some better competition for the backup job than Emory Jones, who I think a good percentage of our viewers right now are learning for the first time. Emory Jones, the guy I bet on in Florida and let me down so many times, me never, you maybe, is on the Falcons roster. Now, some background on Easton Stick. He was the Chargers backup for a little while, 5th-round pick in 2019. We're filming this, by the way, during our live show, so we don't have all the cool bells and whistles because this news broke while we were live on the channel, and you can actually see my live reaction in a video that's going to be posted tomorrow, today, depending on when you're watching this. But Stick in his, brief career as a 2019 5th-round draft pick. He's only appeared in 6 games, but really just 5 because in 2020 he threw 1 pass at the end of the game. But in 2023, when Justin Herbert ended the year on IR, Stick started 4 games. He went 0-4. He threw 1,100 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. So not too shabby for Easton Stick. I don't have high expectations. To me, there are a couple of ways that you can interpret the signing. We talked about this is a sign of Kirk Cousins' incoming departure. I feel like that's a little bit premature, but not out of bounds. I think this is a sign of Atlanta wants to have 3 quarterbacks on the roster for voluntary practices, and they don't expect Kirk Cousins to be there. I also think this could be a sign of Atlanta does not plan to go with a quarterback in the draft. When making my mock draft, which is actually going to be next up in our live show and will come out in a few days, you'll see me take a quarterback in round 7. Now with Easton Stick, that seems somewhat unlikely, but you never quite know. So with Michael Penix's injury history, I don't think it's a bad idea to invest in a more solidified backup like Stick than, say, Emory Jones. Plus, 2019, been in the league for 5+ years. He can probably teach Penix a thing or two, whereas Jones is learning things along with Michael Penix. So that's probably not a good situation to have the blind leading the blind. So reaction, overarching thoughts here. I like it. It's hard to be too upset with the level of a backup that you signed. Hopefully, we never hear his name once in 2025. That's the mark of a good backup. But if you're looking for someone that can help, coach Penix up a little bit, teach him a thing or two, show him what to watch for in film, who's watched a lot of film, worked under Justin Herbert. Yeah, not the worst. Does he kind of look like Taylor Heineke in that picture too? A little bit, yeah. So, could have brought back Heineke. I don't know where Heineke is right now. Someone look up where Heineke is. Let me know in the comment section. So, Easton, welcome to Atlanta. Where did he go to college? North Dakota State. And he's from Omaha. So, first time in Atlanta. Heineke on the Chargers? Okay, he stayed in L.A. Easton, just get some lemon pepper wings, and you're going to love your time in ATL. So, before we wrap up today's video, quick shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Plus, Prize Picks calls the Peach State home. So if you want to maybe support a neighbor of yours, check out Prize Picks because they put their members first. So all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Also, every Tuesday, Prize Picks will discount several projections on the board, usually by 15 to 25%. It's called Taco Tuesday, and it's a great way to have a little bit more interest in whatever you're watching on a Tuesday. So check out Prize Picks today. The app is really easy to use. To create a lineup, all you have to do is pick more or less on a few player stats for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your money. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Now, back to Easton Stick. Let's say this is a signing that is a signal of an incoming Kirk Cousins trade, which you probably thought I jumped to that conclusion immediately since I can be a bit reactionary, I've been told. Plus, I've been trying to push Kirk out the door. And I also just want to take this time to say, I want to push Kirk out the door because I am solely interested in doing what is best to maximize Michael Penix. And so having a backup who doesn't want to be a backup, I think takes away from Penix. And at this stage, all I care about is making Penix the best version of himself. So that's why I've been the conductor. I've been like, let's power rank. Do you think I've been more of a conductor, a czar, or a chairman? Reed, what would you say is number one? Conductor number one? I think I'd go, czar sounds pretty badass. I'd go czar. Czar is the Russian word for king. Tsar Nicholas. Look up the Russian Revolution. Did not end very well for him. Spoiler. I'd go czar, Chairman Mao, Communist Party. I'd go czar, chairman, conductor for getting Kirk out of Atlanta. I like Kirk. Nice guy. But right now, my eyes are on Michael Penix. And I don't want a backup for Penix that doesn't want to be a backup. I want a backup for Penix that wants to be a backup. And hello, Easton Stick, because he knows he's a backup, right? He's happy to be here. He's thrilled to have another NFL contract. So, Easton Stick, once more, welcome to Atlanta. But also, if this is a trade for a Kirk Cousins, if this is a signing of an incoming Kirk Cousins trade, it's not really like NFL teams to move in such a well-mannered format, right? For example, let's say the Falcons had the framework of a Kirk Cousins trade done. I don't think they would tell the Steelers, the Browns, the Vikings, before we execute this trade, we got to get this Easton guy to Atlanta because we're terrified that we'll trade Cousins and then someone will swoop in and sign Stick. No, I think what likely happened here is as the Falcons draft plan and strategy comes together for all 7 rounds, they have made the assessment, we're not going to use one of our 5 picks on a quarterback. We don't want to have just Penix and Jones at organized team activities and at mandatory minicamp. And we don't think Kirk Cousins is a lock to be here. by training camp. So let's get ahead of it a little bit and let's bring a veteran backup in like Easton, who could double as a great backup for Michael Penix if we get to that point. But I think step one was let's have 3 quarterbacks in attendance for practices during the spring, and Stick could also be a nice backup for us when we get to the Kirk Cousins trade, point in the road. So that will do it for us on this breakdown of Easton Stick. Man, Mrs. Stick and Mama Stick have to be so happy. I don't think anyone's ever done a 10-minute video talking about Easton before. So Easton, if you're watching right now, shout out to you in the comment section. But make sure to subscribe to the channel. We will be live for days 1 and 2 of the NFL draft. So if you want to get free pick-by-pick analysis, come hang out with producer Reed and myself. We're going to try and give back as much as possible. We have some fun giveaways tuned. So we have some fun giveaways planned. I know today, Junior. So hit that sub button down below and don't miss a single thing when it comes to the Dirty Birds. Next up on the show, I want to look at a mock draft that I put together. We'll keep it as is. It'll be a little fun story. It's round 7 when I go with the quarterback, so who gives a shit? Yeah, he definitely will be the next Easton Stick. And I'll be really upset if I back out of that quarterback pick and then they still take that quarterback. Oh, of course, Trace said this is competition for Penix. Trace is a lot of fun to have in the office. He's also the most flip-floppy person ever. He thought Derek Carr would be the next Drew Brees. Now he wants to pack Derek Carr's belongings for him and kick it to the curb. He thought Jameis would be the Messiah. And then Jameis lost his starting gig to Andy Dalton. So, not surprised. Over 200 people tuned in right now. We have 68 likes. I need one more person to like the video. Not 2, just 1. Are we ready, Reed? Here we go. Coming up on today's show, I want to run through my final 7-round mock draft for the Atlanta Falcons. I want to preface with, this is a mock draft based on what I predict actually happens. This is not me playing GM. This is not Petey Fontenot. This is me predicting what Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris are going to do. And in round 1, I predict they go with Mike Green, defensive end out of Marshall. That is my gun to my head prediction for the Falcons in round 1. Now, I really hope there's not a gun to my head because when you pick 15, a lot can happen from 1 to 14. But I feel confident that if Green is available, and I feel pretty confident that he will be available, that is going to be the pick for the Falcons. So let's get you guys caught up with potentially Atlanta's first-round pick. 6'3", 251 pounds. So he's not one of the biggest dudes in this draft. I don't think in a 3-4 defense he would play with his hand in the ground as a defensive end like, say, Zach Harrison or Calais Campbell. I think he would be an outside linebacker, which that's not really what he did at Marshall. So there could be some growing pains as he learns to have more added to his role as an outside linebacker when it comes to coverage responsibilities and things like that. But athletically, that shouldn't be a problem for him. He's got great bend. He's got great initial burst. And he just has this great track speed to fly into the backfield and get to the quarterback before he finishes his 3-step drop. So that speed and bend is what makes him stand out above all else compared to some other defensive ends, some other edge rushers in this class. Now, the con from him on the field is you really only have one sample size to work with. You just got the 2024 season. There's very little 2023 tape. He didn't even start for Marshall in his first year in Huntington, West Virginia. He transferred there after 2 seasons. Well, not even 2 seasons, just 1 season with Virginia. He was dismissed from the school in 2022 with a sexual assault allegation, so teams are going to have to do their homework on him. But in 2024, he looked the part of a guy who could be a true day 1 starting pass rusher. I'm not going to pass him off as some generational edge rusher, but I think he could be the answer to the Falcons' drought of a player with 7 or more sacks. They haven't had that in nearly, this sounds like a bit hyperbolic, but it's not really, almost a decade. It's like the longest drought in NFL history without a single player on your roster having 7 or more sacks. So Green, I feel like, is going to be the number one pass rushing target for the Falcons if he's there, and I think there's a good chance he will be there. Before we move on to the rest of my mock draft and look at the other picks, make sure you subscribe going into the draft. We're going to have a lot of last-minute updates, rumors, trade buzz, all that stuff. Plus, we are going to be live for days 1 and 2 of the draft. So if you want to skip the commercials and also like the sob stories that ESPN puts out during the draft, come watch it with me, and I'll give you my thoughts on every single pick moving forward in the draft. On to round 2, where I go with Omarr Norman-Lott, defensive tackle out of Tennessee. Let's talk about the guy with the biggest neck in this draft. We'll start right there, but also someone who's got incredible, Jesus, look at that thing. Incredible pass rush upside for his position. Now, there are some pros and there are some cons. The pros are big enough for him to be viewed as a round 2, maybe even an end of round 1 prospect by some teams. The cons, though, are borderline alarming. So let's start with the half glass full. He is arguably the best interior pass rusher, not just in this draft, but in recent drafts. Might be better at getting to the quarterback than, say, Mason Graham, who's going to be a top 5, top 10 draft pick. The cons are he doesn't start, which is weird, right? Tennessee had a very good defensive line last year, so a lot of competition there, but he was a rotational sub-package player in Tim Banks' defense for the Volunteers. Only 4 sacks, 27 pressures, so why is this guy looked at as a round 2 prospect? What are you missing? Well, his pass rush win rate, which I know is some major sabermetrics and some really nerdy stuff, it was 12.6%. He only averaged 17 snaps per game, right? Usually you get, let's say, keep math easy, 40. He wasn't even playing, on average, half of the snaps defensively. And he was still cranking out 4 sacks and 20-plus pressures, and he led all interior defensive linemen in pass rush win rate. So, suffice to say, add more to his plate, get more production. Now, the reason why Tennessee didn't do that, because I'm sure they thought of that themselves, was he's not very reliable on first down against the run. May not be someone who's got the motor to go for all 4 quarters for an entire season. This has some project and, work written all over it. But if Raheem Morris wants to bet on himself to get that level of a pass rusher out more than just 17 snaps a game, you've got your Grady Jarrett replacement. You've got someone who can get to the quarterback from the interior defensive line. And I feel that Atlanta, being so desperate to get pass rush help, might reach on someone. And by reach, I mean, according to some, it would be a reach. By some, it might not be a reach. But might decide to pull the trigger on an Omarr Norman-Lott with his insanely high pass rush potential, because they need guys to get to the quarterback. And they are willing to roll the dice on someone who, not from an off-the-field standpoint, but from an on-the-field and at times lack of on-the-field standpoint, because he's on the sideline far too often, roll the dice on those, warning signs. Before we check out the rest of my mock draft, quick shout-out to our friends over at Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. So if you want to go to a Braves game, if you want to go to any other sporting event in your area, check out Game Time today. They've got great last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Getting back to our mock draft, no third round pick. That belongs to the New England Patriots for the Matthew Judon trade. But in round 4, I go pedal to the metal for pass rush help. I go with LSU's Sai'Vion Jones, defensive end from the LSU Tigers. So let me give you some background on Sai'Vion. He's 6'5", 283 pounds. I know people are going to look at the Mike Green pick, look at this pick, and think, isn't that overkill? Not in a 3-4 defense. I think Green is going to be an outside linebacker, like Arnold Ebiketie and like Leonard Floyd. Whereas Jones, I think, is going to be more like Calais Campbell from 2 years ago. Zach Harrison, right? Actually put his hand in the ground. He was a 2-year starter that did bounce a little bit from defensive end to outside linebacker. So if you did toss him because of a pinch or an injury to outside linebacker, it wouldn't be a fish out of water. His first 3 years for the Tigers, nothing to write home about. But look at what he did in his senior year. 43 pressures, 4.5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. Keep in mind, we are in round 4. You're not going to find a perfect prospect at this point, but I think at this point, I'm going full Kylo Ren more right now. You want pass rush help? Here it is. You go get Mike Green, and you put him opposite of Leonard Floyd. Then you kick Rourke inside to where Zach Harrison is, and then you put Sai'Vion Jones and Zach Harrison rotating at defensive end, Omarr Norman-Lott rotating with Rourke at defensive tackle, and you've got some youth and some experience at your defensive line. Is it going to be a top 5, top 10 defensive line of football? Probably not. I don't need it to be. It just can't be bottom 5 anymore. I'd kill for this defense to just be 20th in sacks. I do unthinkable things. So just get it to a point where it's passable. And bringing on an extra edge rusher like Sai'Vion Jones, who showcased a lot of potential in his final year for the Tigers, is a guy in round 4 I'm willing to take a chance on. No 5th round pick. That belongs to nobody. Tampering, allegedly, because of Kirk. Thanks, Kirk. But they do have a pair of 7th round picks. In round 7 with their first selection, I went with Jaylin Smith, cornerback out of USC. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys right now. It is round 7, so I will not pretend to know that I know everything there is to know about Jaylin Smith. But what I can tell you about Jaylin Smith is he was a 3-year starter for the Trojans. He doesn't have tremendous size, 5'10", $187, but he's going to have some good traits when it comes to his speed, but more like his agileness. And I think you can move him around a little bit from inside to outside. So it's always fun to have a little bit of extra competition at that nickel corner spot because the value of that position continues to go up and up and up. Man, if you could buy stock for NFL positions, imagine dumping the running back position like 10 years ago. I'd be buying all the nickel stock I could get right now. So if he can stay healthy, I think he can find a home in the league. I just like the idea of Atlanta going with a corner in round 7. They have not drafted a corner since Clark Phillips. So bringing on some extra depth at a very important position in my eyes. And with that last 7th round pick, it's probably not super likely anymore because I'm filming this video during our live on Monday afternoon, and they have signed Easton Stick at this point, but I figured, F it. Keep Kurtis Rourke in there anyway. So I got the Indiana quarterback coming in to round out this draft. I made that pick because I felt like the Falcons needed to add another quarterback, and then they signed Easton Stick. So we had the same train of thought, just 2 different ways of doing it. But I went with Rourke for a few reasons. 1, kind of badass. Played the entire season with a torn ACL. 2, this would be an NFL first. To have 2 quarterbacks on your roster who at some point played for Indiana, that has never happened before. So for round 7, F it. Why not? Give me Kurtis Rourke. But I'll be honest, with Easton Stick joining this quarterback room, the possibility of the Falcons going quarterback is very, very low. So I felt like they had to add a quarterback, which is why I went with one in round 7, and then they signed Stick. So that kills that idea most likely. How would you grade my mock draft, though? Let's quickly revisit it and give you guys a refresher on what I did. I think you're really just grading my first 3 picks because round 7, guys, I don't have a ton of expectations or high expectations for. I go with Mike Green, outside linebacker. Omarr Norman-Lott as a hopeful Grady Jarrett replacement when it comes to some pass rush potential. And then Sai'Vion Jones to kind of go in there and rotate with Zach Harrison at defensive end. You want pass rush, Raheem and Terry. There it is. So how would you grade it? A, B, C, D, or F? I give myself like a B-. And I'm not saying that because I think I stunk it up, although people who call me Terry P.D. Fontenot might think I did. I'm saying that because I've got 2 picks in the first 3 rounds to work with. I don't think you can really give yourself an honest A if you compare to other teams that have multiple second and third round picks and give them A's as well. At the end here, I found 1 starter and 2 rotational pieces. Not the worst thing in the world for a team that only has 3 picks in the first 4 rounds. All right, click that sub button down below if you have not already. Greatly appreciate everyone who hangs out with us all the way to the end of the video. If you're still watching right now, drop an ATL in the comment section. You know I love the end of the video crew. Oh, no. What's wrong? Well, I mean, that's what I gave myself. Because I don't think I really have like a realistic path to an A grade with only 2 picks in the top 100. If I give myself an A, then how do you grade a team like the Bears who have picks 10, 39, and 41? Or a team like the Browns who have picks 2, 33, and then 2 in round 3? I did not get a lot to work with here. I know that the Omarr Norman-Lott is a little bit of a reach by some standards, but if you want to address your pass rushing issues, I took the number 1 sack leader in college football last year with Mike Green. Then I took the number 1 pass rushing interior defensive lineman in Omarr Norman-Lott. I don't know if you could address it much better than that right there. And listen, I'm not here to say Trey Amos is a bad player or a bad pick, but I feel that Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris are going to want to go full throttle, flaps down, right? If there's a pilot watching, let me know. Flaps down, and we're going to do full send takeoff to get the best pass rushers possible. And to me, that's the best way to do it. Dude, the neck is ginormous. It is. The neck is ginormous. Norman looks like he swallowed a fire hydrant. Oh, that's good stuff. I think we got a super chat. We got Pearso. Someone sent a super chat in. Aiden Stackhouse. Great to see you, Aiden. Thank you, PD and Falcons Today, for giving us Falcons fans great content on regular. Also, PD, you looking slim. Thank you, Aiden. Anyone want to guess what I had for dinner last night? No, just roasted broccoli. That was a like, I wouldn't say a low point, but a true first. Throughout this diet, I've experienced what vegetarians go through. It's awful. That's a horrible way to live. Could not do it. All they say is cheese pizza. Yeah, which I've learned to like tofu actually. It's kind of tasteless. It's not that bad. Yeah, I'm getting tofu for lunch tomorrow. I forgot what we have coming, but I picked tofu as my protein. But yeah, if you ever trying to lose some weight, if you want to lose some weight, just get engaged. That's gonna light a fire under you like anything else. Get married? Oh yeah, or knock your wife up, and then be like, hey, we're gonna gain weight together. I'll match you pound for pound. So, I just did not want to be a fat fuck at my wedding. Those pictures would be awful. The double chin. Oh. Yeah. So that's my secret. What's your secret? Just propose, and you're gonna find motivation like you've never found before. All right, are we? Yeah, that's gonna do it for us. If you have a last second question or thought, oh, I was about to say super chat. That's not very nice. Everyone, boo Tom in the chat. Boo Tom in the chat. I'm not gonna put it on. Actually, we will put it on screen. First Amendment. You know what? I do not like Bill Belichick's girlfriend for how often she makes 28-3 jokes. Dude, you were in middle school then. Why do you care about this now? Why are the Falcons like your nemesis? Okay, she may not have been in middle school. I was a sophomore in college. I'm 27. Is she younger than me? How old is she? No, she can't be 24. How old is Bill Belichick? I thought she was like. How old is she? Oh, she's 24. Okay, she was high school. I'm going to stereotype. Jordan Hudson did not care about the Super Bowl her junior year of high school. Oh, a couple of super chats coming in from Josh. Jeez. By the way, there's like some developing story with her that she has a job with UNC and it's a made-up position, but I think she's getting paid. Josh Buford, her sources, the Falcons have already set their draft board, and Will Johnson and Mike Green aren't top 5 on that board. Well, Josh, that could be true. Their big board could have Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter. They're not going to be there at 15, right? Now, if you're saying a realistic board for 15, that'd be quite the sources you have here, Josh. Because I don't know any team that no team wants to leak what their board is like. It kills their trade leverage. Let's say, for example, it got out that the Falcons don't have Mykel Williams at in their top 15, right? They think he's a round 3 guy. And the team wants to trade up, and they're like, hey, we know you don't like Mykel Williams. So we know we don't have to pry that pick away from you because you're not going to take him there anyway. So we'll lowball you. It's very uncommon for a team's big board to get out. But if it's just their overall top 100, top 300, yeah, I don't expect Johnson or Mike Green to be top 5. I expect guys like Genty and Abdul Carter and Mason Graham to be there. Grand Limousine with a $20 super chat. Salute to you, Grand Limousine. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate all of the support you have shown us over the years. Hope you're with us on Thursday and Friday as we have a fun live draft spectacular. The notorious number 1 Green, number 2 Pierce, number 3 Mykel. Do you think? See, the thing with like the week of draft content is I feel compelled to cover every single possible draft target. Not from, and I'm being honest here, not from a standpoint of, see, I said they'd get him, but from a standpoint of, hey, I want you guys to know all the options. And I don't want to have a single stone left unturned. So I'm going to outkick my coverage and talk about more prospects than I really should. That way, we are all prepared no matter what the pick is. But then people go like, now you're going to say you called it right. Like, no, I'm just trying to make sure everyone's educated on every single prospect. And I haven't talked about James Pierce a ton because I don't feel like that's going to be the pick at 15. But maybe I should. Yeah. They brought him in for a visit. All right. Make sure you are with us on Thursday. We'll do like a last call for any super chat. A little 2-minute timer right now. Otherwise, we will sign off. We've got some, I'd say, work / just getting home to do. It's going to be a long week, so we're not trying to burn ourselves out. Reed and I are going to work every single day from today through our next day off is next Friday. Because we had this whole week, and then we just work the next week too, like a normal Monday to, we have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off next week. So it's balls to the wall from today until next Thursday. And Reed is not happy with me. Working Sunday? Yeah, UDFAs. Sunday's the worst day of all this because you feel like you're done with it all. And then you got to sit at your computer and wait for every UDFA signing to come in. And then you got to like do research on these guys because a lot of them have no, like, I know nothing about the FCS guys, but I don't want to get in front of the camera and just read you names as if you're blind and go, there it is. Like, I feel like you want to learn something. I want to teach you something, but I got to learn it myself. So I got to do research on guys from Southeast Utah State. And that's the worst way to spend your Sunday. All right. PD do the 7. No, I can't. We used to have someone who used to work here do the 75 hard challenge. You have to like 75 days of, what is it? No alcohol. There's some element to the diet. Read a book every day. It's read, no drink, and I think there's exercise. Every other day or every day? Oh, fuck that. No way. By the way, if you're like, hey, I kind of want to lose some weight, I did all this with 0 exercise. It's pure diet. The only exercise I do is walk my dog, and walk to work. The walk to work is about 20 to 25 minutes. It's a little over a mile. I just throw my AirPods in, and I don't even walk every day. Right? Come to work 5 days a week. I walk 3, sometimes 4 days a week. So if you're like, I don't want to lose weight because I don't want to go to the gym, you don't have to. It's all diet. All right, PD Fontenot is going to sign off. Read 10 pages, exercise, follow the diet of your choice, and no drink. Yeah. I could get behind the book part. I got to get back to reading. I started it at the beginning of the year, my New Year's resolution. Exercise, yeah, it's just, I don't have that motivation. All right. Enjoy your Monday, and I'll be back tomorrow. And, I mean, every day for the rest of next week, too, with the latest on the Dirty Birds.